So this is actually how most of my trees are laid out at the moment, and whilst it isn't really a problem, it's just not ideal because it's quite difficult to kind of access all of the trees, and because a lot of them are fruit trees, they do need a lot of care. So the plan is to move them, and I want to move them there. And whilst there isn't any sun on it right now, the sun does come around eventually and it will get some. So I think I'll put them there, and then that'll free up more access to the big pear tree, the tulip tree, and the nectarine, and then it would just be easier to maintain them. And I would really like to have like an orchard-esque kind of setup with these, so they've got like space to walk around them and stuff like that, just because I do think it'd be easier, especially when they're big enough to be harvested. So and it would also be easier to put like nets and stuff around them to protect them. So I'm gonna get started on doing that, and I'll show you the results. This is the nectarine tree. The blossoms are coming to an end, unfortunately, but it is the way it is. Hopefully a couple of them have been fertilised. I've seen a number of bees around, so hopefully a couple of them have been. And yeah, so I've really enjoyed this tree this year, and every year she looks more and more incredible. So in a couple of years she's going to be absolutely stunning, so I'm really looking forward to that. So these are the first petals that we've had on the pear tree, and she is just gorgeous, and I'm very much looking forward to her having all of her buds come out and the bees enjoy this tree as well. This tree definitely has more blossom than the nectarine, which is to be expected. This tree is a little bit older and it's more UK weather appropriate, I suppose. And yeah, so we'll just keep an eye on that. One thing about this tree is that I get a lot of cutting, a lot of stems grow out from the bottom. So this comes out of the rootstock of the tree, so I don't actually know what type of pear this is actually growing as, because it's grown from the rootstock and not the actual grafted pear itself. So I will eventually cut those off, but not right now. When I first planted these up, I put like hyacinths and tulips in the pots, and they have definitely been replicating over the last couple of years, which has been quite fun to watch. And so I've got some tiny little tulip heads. There's one there and another little one, and because they have been replicating, these ones are quite young, so I probably won't get that many tulips compared to the previous years, well, the first year that they were put in there. So they're also in the base of the tulip tree and then also the nectarine tree. So we'll just see what we get. The hyacinths definitely are coming out on top so far. So this is a cherry sunburst tree, and she had a lot of fruit last year, which was really, really cool. She lost a couple because we had this obese pigeon come down and eat all of them, as well as the plums, so that was a lesson learned. I definitely do need to put a net around this one a lot sooner than I did last year, but I can do that, that's not a problem. And yeah, so the cool thing about cherries is that you can tell which ones are fruit buds and which ones are leaves. So for example, this cluster here, you can see that that one in the middle, that one there, is more pointed compared to the other ones which are more round. So the ones that are round are actually flowers, whereas the pointed one is leaves. So when you get to look at the clusters quite close, you can see that there are a lot of flower buds. So again, this is looking very promising for a really nice, decent harvest this year. So jams should be on the menu very soon. So this is the apricot, and it's definitely got more leaves than the rest of them, but just looking at it now, it's quite unfortunate because you can see, like, for example, this leaf here, that is peach leaf curl to my knowledge, and it has it all over the plant. So I will have to cut these leaves off and burn them just so it helps prevent the infection spreading. But my nectarine tree does also have this disease, and I've been trying to get it under control for a number of years, but I've really struggled with it. So I'll do my best again. I've got some different fungicides and stuff, but I've not had much luck with them. But we'll see if just picking off the infected leaves and burning them does make a difference. Hopefully it does, but I'm not sure if it will or not. It's still got a couple of pieces of blossom, which is quite nice. But this one is definitely far more ahead than the rest of the trees, which is unusual, but I suppose it is more of a warmer climate tree, which could be the reason. And yeah, so we'll just keep an eye on this one and see how it goes and see if I can get this infection under control before it really gets out of control. So this is a plum tree. It is a Victoria plum, and this is a very new one. I got it very, very recently at Tesco for like £6, which was really cool because trees are usually very expensive. And it doesn't appear to have many, if any, buds. I think it's got one. I think that is that one there. I think that is the one and only bud that it has. But I'm just happy that it survived, to be totally honest, because usually trees are like £15 if you're lucky, 30 if you're also lucky, but then like 60, which is kind of like the price that you're usually looking at in the garden centres here, which is a shame because then it does stop a lot of people being able to get them. I'm in the very fortunate position that I've been collecting them over a number of years, so I do have quite a nice collection of trees. And yeah, so this one does seem like it'll be more of a leafy kind of year, but the trees are pretty young, so that is to be expected. And really cool, it's got this tiny little one at the bottom, at the very base of the stem. And whilst they do usually say to cut these off, like the branches that are really, really, really low, I have this thing where I absolutely love these really low leaves and like branches, so I tend to leave them. And because it is also on the rootstock part of the stem, I don't know what that is, so that isn't necessarily a Victoria plum, but I might just leave it and see how it goes. So much like the Victoria plum, this is a cherry stella tree, and this also has a little sprout at the very bottom in the rootstock part of the stem. So again, I'll just leave that. And I mean, that one is very tiny at the moment, so it wouldn't be overly sensible to cut it off. But it also has this one here, which will definitely be left. And then it's also quite a slow one, but then again, it is still only March, so it might just be that. Again, I got this one from Tesco, and I'm just glad it is alive, because sometimes I have had the misfortune of buying trees that weren't cheap and having them not live, which was very upsetting. I had a nectarine that was like £60 and it never did anything, which was very upsetting, but it is what it is. It's the nature of plants, really, unfortunately. So this is a Braeburn apple tree, and I absolutely adore Braeburn apples, and we're quite fortunate in the UK that we do get a lot of them grown here. I think a lot of them are grown in Kent, and Braeburn apples are delicious. They're just fantastic for eating, and as opposed to cooking, though I haven't tried them for cooking. I don't know if they're very good for that. And I've got a couple of buds, which is really nice, and I've not had that much to do with apple trees, well, this kind of apple tree. So I'm not sure how to determine the fruit from the leaf buds yet, but I do think a number of these are fruit buds, because I would assume that, where is it gone? That these like big ones, where are they? Like these big ones are going to be fruit compared to the tiny little ones that are coming off the stems, which I assume are leaves. Can't find an example now. But yeah, so it'd be cool to watch this one grow. And similarly to the pears, there's another one here, which is a Concord pear. This is very much improved compared to last year. Like last year it didn't have any kind of flower buds, but this year you can see that it's got a lot of clusters. Not as many as the other tree, but of course it is much smaller than the other tree. But it would be fantastic just to get a couple of blossom pieces off of here and see the bees and like the butterflies and stuff coming along near them. But yeah, these are just the trees that I've got now, and I just really enjoy watching them, so I hope you guys get to enjoy some of them as well, because trees are fantastic and it's nice to enjoy what they can provide. So I've moved most of the pots so you can see where they were, and so some of them have been put over here. Hello Emrys, there's nothing under there for you. So some of them have been put on the patio there. She wants to play with her ball. Silly dog. So these are what remain here for now. So we've got 2 blueberry bushes. This one is the most advanced, I'll say, for now. And I usually do get pretty good harvests of blueberries, which is really nice because I'd like to make blueberry pie and blueberry jam this year. So having 2 or 3 bushes is pretty useful. We've also got a little bush here with some little buds on it there and there, and some more fruit trees. So we can finally get a bit closer to the nectarine now, which is nice. Oh, absolutely stunning. And yeah. So I've moved the lights. They've got these little like solar lights on the tulip tree and the big pear tree. And we can also get closer to the pear tree now. So I can show you some more of the buds. And yeah, it's just so pretty. I absolutely adore these fruit trees. They're just fantastic. And the fact that they produce fruit that you can like eat and enjoy later on is just even more fantastic about owning fruit trees. And yeah, so here are the hyacinths, or one of the hyacinths that we've got growing in here. So these have been in here for years, and you can see where they've multiplied, where you've got like leaves without any flowers. And so we've got some tiny little tulips as well. And this is again seen in here. So there's another hyacinth, that might be a yellow one. So we've got yellow, blue and pink hyacinths. So I don't know which ones will grow this year, but we'll see. And we've got some frilly tulips, which are just lovely. And we've got an emeris eating grass. And then we've got some more normal tulips, which are probably pink or white, as well as some more hyacinths. And there's this tiny little strawberry plant which I planted in here about half an hour ago. Didn't really know where to put it, so I thought I may as well fill up that little space. And this is in the nectarine tree, so yeah. So this is where I've moved the fruit trees to. They're by the kitchen window. And as well as the fruit trees, there are these little rosemary cuttings that I took last year. And they've all done pretty well over the winter. I mean, they've survived, which is always good. That one seems to have some flowers on it, which is quite surprising given how small the cutting is. There we go. So that's pretty astonishing. Oh, all of them do. Well, not all of them. Many of them do. But this would be because I cut them from a very mature plant. So that would be probably why. I actually bought these 2 bigger ones, like in this pot and this pot at the front. Whereas the rest of them are cuttings that we used to have. They're cuttings from a tree that we used to have. And yeah, so this is another apple. And I think these are flower buds rather than like leaf ones. But we'll see soon enough. So as well as the rosemary cuttings and the fruit trees, I've also got all of these strawberry plants. And these definitely do need transplanting, and pretty swiftly as well. So I'm going to get one of those strawberry planters, you know, the ones that kind of like stack on top of each other. So hopefully that will come soon. And so these can be transplanted pretty quickly and get them out of this little alcove in the garden, because this is going to be where the catio is going to be. And that catio should hopefully take up practically all of the space, which will be very nice for them. And I might plant some strawberries for the cats. I don't know, haven't decided yet. But yeah, these eventually will be moved, of course, and hopefully we'll get a really nice harvest of strawberries. So that's all for today's garden adventures. I'll probably move them again soon, just to make sure that they're all in the best places for them. But for now, they can stay where they are, and we'll just see how they go over the next couple of weeks. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.